Good afternoon, everyone. And I'm kind of laughing at myself because I almost said good morning, which would be totally wrong. Welcome to Women and Business. I am very excited. My guest today is Cheryl Kuchek, and we're going to have a great conversation. And I'm so excited that all of you are here listening with us, and I can't wait for this discussion. It's going to be really exciting. But before we do anything, I want to give you a little background on Cheryl so you'll know who she is and maybe some of what we're going to talk about today. So let's start with that. Cheryl Kuchek has been a business owner since 1993 and the current owner of Just My Imagination Designs Incorporated since 2008. She has been active in the personalization industry for over 12 years. She is a columnist for A&E Magazine and now Graphics Pro. Cheryl has a passion for the industry and a love of helping people. It was fitting that she would be the first to start a Facebook group to do that very thing. Sublimation for Beginners and Beyond is not just a Facebook group, but a resource to help those who are first starting out and those advanced. Cheryl also started the first of its kind Sublimation Summit, a hands-on sublimation educational conference. She can be reached by email at sublimationsummit@gmail.com. And let's bring her in and say hello. And there she is. Yay. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi. How are you?
I'm so excited to have you here today.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, sure. And I have so many questions. But the first one I want to ask you is when I was doing research on you and going around and looking at the things that you've done, I went and looked at the Sublimation for Beginners and Beyond Facebook group. Almost 28,000 people are members of that group.
Yeah.
How did you do that? I mean, honestly, because I know a lot of people that say, I'm going to start a group. And I mean, I started a group. And I'm just like, how did you get that? And what's your engagement like, I guess would be the second question, but let's not overwhelm you. How did you get that many people to join your group?
Well, to be honest with you, that group would probably be triple if we didn't vet people. So,
wow.
So we literally, I'm going to say maybe 6 months ago, we had 10,000 people waiting to get in. And yeah, 10,000 people. I mean, I would take screenshots and show people, and 1,000 would probably make it in, and 1,000 or 1,200 wouldn't make it in. Because we always wanted quality versus quantity. And
sure.
That was, there are now, I was the first sublimation group to start. There's got to be 100 of them now, and probably 5 to 10 of them starting every single day. And I mean, I think it's great because we need it. Our industry is growing leaps and bounds. So I saw the need. I mean, the truth is I saw the need. I had started a craft group, vinyl group around 2012. I believe it was 2012. Somebody had posted sublimation in there. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is that? I have to have it.
Yeah.
And so I bought all of it. I'm telling you, and I didn't look back. And so then as I was posting in there, people, I think, were kind of like, oh, she's a sublimation snob, because I was so excited, but I wanted to share it. I mean, I was making this magic, and
sure.
I was like, oh my God, And so I said, well, and then people would ask me like, what is that? How do you do it? So, and I remember when I started it, there was, I believe there was 25 people in total, and only 2 of us were doing sublimation. And so then, and so we just started growing. And I get, right now, we usually have 300 to 500 people waiting always to get in. So
where are they coming
on a weekly basis?
Where they are?
As soon as they
is it recommendations?
I think because Facebook, as soon as they put in sublimation or they put in sublimation,
because you're the
Facebook,
OG.
because we have so much activity in there. I think we have like 35,000 or 40,000 comments a month is what, or 28 days, I guess. And so Facebook goes, oh, they're an active group. I guess that's how it works. So anyway, I go in every single day, 365 days a year. And I post a good morning. I always post a, some thought for the day, a picture, something. And there's a lot of engagement. And I mean, some of these people are like family to me. Seriously, I've known them for years. And so, I mean, it's awesome. And I really do I love what I get to do. I say it all the time, and it's the truth. I love what I get to do. So it's one of those things that I think you have to have a passion for what you do, or it becomes work.
Oh, I agree with you. And I think if you're doing something just because you can fill a niche and you don't really care about it, people will know. Then they go, no, I don't want to be a part of this because it's somebody just doing it because they think it's popular.
Or they want to make money or whatever.
They want to sell to you, or they want to do. I totally agree with you there. You have to have a passion. You have to hear about it. Definitely.
And it is my passion. That is the truth. And I am fortunate to work with so many of the vendors that, they're just that care about their customers. And so that's a really big part. And I have been giving, working with them to give the people discounts on substrates and printers and key presses and stuff. And so it's, it's been years in the making. I love it,
So
I love what I get to do.
Well, I mean, and you've also done a nice thing with it in that you've been able to offer your group members perks, so to speak, because you have a big enough group and you can form alliances with vendors, which having been on the other side of that as a vendor that people were approaching, I always loved it when somebody would come up with this group that had like 60 people in it and they'd go, hey, you want to like, no. It's an interesting thing because a group can be such a huge bonus, but you also have to have a group like you have where they're engaged and they're actually, and you can get them to do things. A lot of people mistake influencers as, oh, I have a group, and they don't look at whether or not you can actually get the people in the group to do something if you tell them to do it, is what I'm trying to say. So there has to be more than just, hey, I have a lot of people.
Right.
You have
It's true. It's true. I think you do have to have a connection, and you have to, again, I think it's something that you have to believe in. I, for one, have worked so hard at helping people because my two passions are, as far as working, is sublimation and helping people succeed in this industry, because I've seen so many people come and go because they were frustrated, because they didn't know how to get something to work. And I'm always heartbroken every single time I see it. I'm like, are you kidding me? How could you not just be in love with this process? It's still hard for me to comprehend somebody who has invested money, especially in good equipment, and then they get out of it because, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to sell it. So it's a whole, I think, one, you got to believe in yourself. And two, there are two types of people that I see in my group. People who want to make a business out of it, and they really run the gamut to do that. They buy the quality, they buy things that are going to get them to that place. Maybe they start on Etsy or whatever. And then I don't want to downgrade anyone or degrade someone, but then then you have the wannabes, if you will, that if this works, maybe if I and I think that that's unfortunate, because I think anytime you have somebody that kind of like half-heartedly does something, chances are they're probably not going to succeed in doing it, because they didn't put, they don't have any skin in the game, as they say, So, and I think people who have skin in the game have a lot more on the line to make it work. And again, I don't know how somebody wouldn't just absolutely love this.
I will say that was one of the biggest frustrations that we had when I was director of marketing at Enmart, is we would have people buy sublimation systems, and then we'd contact them later and say, how you doing? Oh, I haven't even taken it out of the box yet. And we're like, what? Why? And I wrote a couple of blog posts, and I wrote a couple articles for magazines about it, because I was like, how can you spend the money? And we would tell people at trade shows, we're like, we'll give you help. You can call us. We have tax. We'll do, if you're concerned, if you can't get something to work. And we'd still get people and then they call us a year later and go, oh yeah, the printer's been sitting in the box the whole time. And I'm just like,
yeah, is the ink good?
Yeah, that was my favorite. Well, we have a couple of comments here. I like this one. Cheryl is an amazing influencer and always has so much to share. She has been a blessing to me, and my business is better because of it. And that's from Evelyn Hay Primus, which I thought was nice.
Evelyn, I love you.
Hellos. Cindy King says hello, and Tanya, and Deborah joining from North Carolina.
Hey, Deborah.
Thank you for joining us. So I want to talk about something that we started to touch on right before we had to go live, because I think you made a really good point, and it's something that's annoying to me too. So I wanted to bring it out, which is the whole idea that people don't help each other as much as they should, that there's still this vestige of, I have a secret and I know how to do something, and if I tell you, then I'm taking something away from me.
Right.
And I don't get that. And from talking to you, I know you don't either. So I wanted to ask you, where do you think that comes from?
Well, I think it comes from a scarcity mentality, for one. Mm-hmm. And I think that people, I was going to have a keynote speaker for the summit last year, and she wanted this big amount of money. I mean, huge. But she was somebody that I knew. And so anyway, her message to me was, well, the reason that I need all this money is because I'm going to have to spend all this time, because your audience is my competition, and I don't want to tell them my secrets. And I was like, wow. Okay. So you are obviously the wrong person.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be like the whole point of coming to be the keynote speaker?
I was shocked. I was shocked. And I'm like, wow. Okay. So clearly this is not somebody that I want, because to me, when you elevate people, mm-hmm. when you lift people up, you make a difference in their life. They make a difference in yours. And every time you give something, you get it back so much more in return. So I don't get that whole thing of, again, I said that earlier to you, women need to band together. And when I started so much of the things that I've done, I didn't have help. I mean, people they did not want to tell me one thing. They didn't, it was like and that's one of the reasons why I do what I do in my group, because I don't want people to be there. I want to help people. And I spend hours and hours I tell people this all the time, but I usually have 30 to 50 private messages a day of people asking me things like, how do I do this? What do I do?
Mhm.
Can I buy this? You know, and how do I start? What do I do? And, you know, clearly they could look in the group, they can look in the files, but they feel like they need to message me, you know?
Sure.
I love helping people. Obviously, my time is limited more today than ever before because I'm totally swamped, but
Mhm.
I love it. I love seeing people succeed. I love helping people. You know, when you know somebody is just, you know, I think people are created for greatness anyway. And so,
Oh,
you know, when you water that seed and you
mhm.
see them grow, it's like,
Oh,
wow.
I'll agree with you on that. When somebody tells me that I got them to do something that they didn't think they could do, or I helped them, I'm like, that's worth every minute I spent
Yeah,
agonizing
exactly.
over whatever I
Exactly.
did, you
And
know.
I gotta tell you, Evelyn, by the way, I think she's my biggest cheerleader, and I love her to pieces. I love you, Evelyn. I love you, love you.
Oh, that's so
She's
sweet.
such a blessing in my life because she's always such an encouragement, and no matter what you know, no matter what I help her with, she always comes back with something to just bless me with. You know, she'll say something. I'm
Mhm.
like, Evelyn, I love you. That's all I can say.
Well, I want to throw out a few comments here because we had a few that I think were good. Tanya says, I have gotten so much further with collaborating than being stingy, which I think is totally true. And
Awesome.
Tanya's
Awesome.
doing a great thing with her Inspire, Collaborate, and Encourage program that she has going. I just did a video with her and her husband last week.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
I love that kind of stuff. I mean, she's doing the same sort of thing, reaching out and helping people learn and grow. And I love that. And Evelyn
Yeah.
says, when you help other people, it always comes back to you, which I think is so
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
And then Jean is having true confession time here. I purchased and assembled a vinyl cutter over 2 years ago and never have turned it on because I'm afraid to put the blade in. I'm a sissy.
Aw.
Well, I wouldn't go there with that, Jean, but I would say you maybe need to learn how to put the blade in and turn the thing on and see what it can do. Because
And
I
there's
know
lots of videos
yes.
that you can watch that will show you how to put something in.
Well, and I will say this, I am the least handy person on the planet. I can cut myself with a dull knife. And I've done sublimation and I have done embroidery. And if I can do that stuff, anybody can do it. But
yeah.
So I want to go back to we were talking a little bit before we started this too about the need for women to support each other and band together. And that's, I mean, if you've seen anything I've done, and I know you have seen some of it, then you know that's a real crusade for me, is that I want to see more female speakers and I want to see more female representation in the industry, because I feel like a lot of the role models out there right now are men. And that's, you know, a result of a lot of things. But one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about is because you are probably one of the more prominent female role models, certainly in sublimation. How did you how did you attain that role? Did you just go, I'm going to start this group and then just keep pushing at it? Or because I guess what I'm asking is, what was your path and how could other women potentially do something similar if they were so inclined? That's a big question, I know.
Yeah. Well, you know, I want you to know that I didn't have an agenda. When I started it, I shouldn't say that. My agenda was to help people. That was my whole sole purpose, was I wanted to help people, and I wanted to be able to have a place where I could post pictures of things that I did that I was excited about, because it, you know, I always had those moments of, oh my gosh, you know, you lift it up like, you know, like this, you know, it was like, oh my gosh, you know, you see something and you're like, oh my gosh, I mean, it's so beautiful. I can't, and I loved how professional it looked. I loved that I could do a mug and it looked like it was store-bought, or a towel, or, whatever substrate. And so I wanted to share that, but I also, more importantly, I wanted to, I wanted people to succeed in it. And I remember the first time Condi invited me to go out there. I'll never forget, because they had this big sign, welcome Cheryl Kuchek to I was like, wow, man, I'm really right. I mean, this was really something, I was like, oh my gosh, look at this. And they asked me, they said, well, David Gross asked me, he said, what is it? What is in it for you? And I said, the joy of being able to see people succeed in something that I'm passionate about. And I think when your motive is right, things happen. Now, Christine, I have to tell you that my group is probably one of the smaller groups of sublimation, because I went for quality. I went for, we don't have drama in our group. We don't have a bunch of people cursing. We just don't have any of it, and occasionally somebody will slip in, but let me tell you, they slip right out very quick. I mean, if they come in with any kind of agenda, we don't have selling in our group. We don't, just, it's a place to learn, a place to grow, a place for a resource for people to know where to get things. And I think with that, I think there's so many people who appreciate that and give back, and which would, when I started, and I don't know if it's okay for me to bring up the summit. Are you good with it? Okay. So, honestly, I had a dream, and Aaron Montgomery could attest to this, because I talked to him probably 6-7 years ago, that I wanted to start I wanted to have like a sublimation conference. I wanted something where we could come together and, I would talk to him about it. This when he was with Coastal, I would talk to him about it, and he's like, yeah, I think that's good, but nothing, And last year, I don't remember what month. It might have been the month of May, but I was at an NBM conference, maybe April or May. A couple of women approached me and said, oh my gosh, you've got to put a conference together. You just have to put it together. And anyway, it was a dream of mine, it's something I really wanted to do. Well, good luck getting somebody to help you. Good luck reaching out to somebody and asking them, hey, how did you do that? What did you learn? What did you know? Blah, blah, blah. Forget it, okay? Because
that's so sad.
But I got to tell you that I literally pulled it off in 3 months.
Okay, well, that was actually one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, because you're one of the few people thus far that we've had on the show that actually has an event. And I, way back in my checkered career, worked catering and events for a hotel. So I know what goes into this kind of stuff. How the heck, woman, in 3 months? How did you do it?
And let me tell you, I had to learn how to do a website. I had never done a website before. I had to put the website together. I had to learn how to schedule 92 classes. 92 classes. I had to learn InDesign so that I could put a brochure together. So I had there were days that I was so overwhelmed that I'm like, God, if you don't help me, I am I'm done because I don't
Well,
even know.
all the moving parts on this thing. I mean, we're talking, you have to figure out where to have it. You have to figure out who's going to speak. You have to set up a way for people to register and attend, and figure out breakout sessions and who's going to sponsor it and what you're going to charge the sponsors and what you're going to charge. I know. I'm passing out and talking about it. Oh my God.
Man,
I mean, I can, and to do all that in 3 months is like, wow.
But I have to tell you that, you know, there were literally days that I was just put one foot in front of the other and, you know, encourage myself that it was going to be okay, that I was going to do it. And then there were days, and the weird thing was, or whatever, the odd thing was that, I couldn't really share it with my husband, even though he was helping me. I couldn't really share my anxiety because he's not a risk taker. And, you know, what we put on the line was like a mortgage.
Oh, yeah.
And it literally. And so that, you know, we were responsible for. So if this thing didn't happen, I don't even know. And we far exceeded the expectation. So we, you know, we guaranteed 150 attendees. We had 272.
Wow.
So I was really elated. And of course.
Yeah. Did you like basically pass out when you crossed your threshold and you were like, yes, we're good?
Well, you know, I was busy all the way through. I mean, I didn't.
You didn't even have time until it was done. And
but it took me about a month to recover, literally, because I was so, you know, the anxiety, the whatever. And by the way, if you ever want to put on an event, call me.
Oh, thank you. I will. Well, and Evelyn said, I've been to so many conferences and summits, but I must say that the Sublimation Summit 2019 was top notch. And I've heard good things about it from other people. So I know that, but I mean, all the moving parts on that is just like, yeah, so I know who to call if I ever decide that WIGD needs a conference or something.
Well, you know,
hi, Cheryl, what you doing?
There were 2 vendors that really, well, actually, I you know, I mean, there were 2 vendors, 2 that really spoke into my life when I would be, you know, just so anxious about it, which was David Gross. Of course, he was by far the most vocal of everyone. You know, he would, you know, he just would cheer me on. And then Rich Zadanek with Romark. He would also
2 really good companies. I mean,
yeah.
Great
and so
people that
it was
help a lot
really, I mean, they really blessed me. And probably the whole time at the summit, Rich and Ron would both say, Cheryl, man, you rocked this thing. Oh my God, man, this is like, I've not been to an event like this. This was so amazing. And, you know, and then other people would go, this is epic. Do you know what you did this? So I was on cloud, whatever it was. It was
932.
Exactly. I mean, I was beyond ecstatic that it actually happened, because there were days literally I didn't know what I didn't know. And then, you know, people would say, well, you know, you're going to learn a lot from this first one. And, you know, after, you know, you make those mistakes, and I am not a person who likes mistakes. So and not that, you know, listen, we all make mistakes. And the first thing I tell people when they start sublimation is, listen, practice, make, you know, allow yourself room to screw up so you can learn from them. Sure. But when it comes to me, it was like, you know, and when you got that much money on the line, it's not something that you can just go, oh yeah, you know, so I'll make a, you know, a $10,000 mistake, no problem. You know? Well,
and I think what people don't get too,
60,000 I can play with, you know, it was not.
Oh, no. And I think what people don't get a lot of the time is that there's all the planning that goes into it. And then if you've ever seen an event organizer, when the event is actually happening, they're like running around like chickens with their heads cut off, because there's still all the moving parts that have to go well and correctly. And there's 5 million questions about this thing and that thing and who's supposed to be here and I'm probably giving you nightmares right now, but.
Well, you know what though? The staff was amazing. I mean, amazing. And so my planner was awesome. There was one little issue, and it wasn't so little, I wouldn't say, but there was one issue to me. It was definitely not the end of the world. Definitely, we were putting on a gala, if you will, for Friday night, and they put us in a room that was way too small, way too small. And people wanted tables, and it was supposed to be like a stand-up thing, and it just did not go well. And so you could say I had a little bit of a meltdown, but other than that, it was great.
Well, I mean, that's something that I think you're allowed to melt down about a little bit. I mean, that's,
my son, because I had 2 of my sons there, and I guess it was my youngest one. I think, I don't even remember. I think it was my youngest one who said, I just want you all to know that my mom, she put all this work into it, whatever. And I start bawling, I'm like, ah! So then Vic Patel, he starts talking. He comes to my rescue, and I'm like, thank God. And then the more they're talking, the more I'm bawling.
Well, sure.
But yeah, that was my little meltdown there. But the stress was just like, I was like a pressure cooker, for months and months and months, and it just it all culminated at the moment, and I'm just like,
let me ask you this, because it's another little mini crusade of mine, is getting more women out as speakers and out in front of the crowds. And when I looked at, and I'm going to put the if you want to go see what we're talking about, this is the Sublimation Summit URL, but you have a pretty decent ratio. Did you pick the speakers, or did the companies volunteer speakers, or how did that work?
No, I really handpicked everybody, because I did. And I do want to talk about Sean Copeland for a second, because Sean Copeland is the Secretary of Commerce for the state of Oklahoma, and actually they're in a war, if you will, with Tesla to get Tesla's to build their plant in Tulsa with I guess Austin, Texas. And anyway, Sean Copeland and I have been friends for, I guess, 25 years, I guess, something like that. And super great guy. And so, as I was telling you earlier, I had this woman that I wanted. Actually, I had 2 different women that I was going to have as my keynote speakers. And then I just, I didn't even think Sean was even a possibility. This man owns 41 businesses.
Oh my goodness.
He's a CEO of the bank that he owns. And he's the Secretary of Commerce for the state of Oklahoma. So he's a little busy.
So he's got a few jobs.
He's got a few. He's got a few. That was another thing that happened. Oh my God, that was another thing that happened. Anyway, so not even really believing that Sean could come, because, obviously of who he is. And
right.
He said, well, I would love to, Cheryl. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? Oh my God, Sean Copeland. Well, so I don't even know what time it was, but I want to say like 5 a.m. I get a text from Sean. Friday morning, I get a text from him saying, there's been a crisis, or I forgot what the heck he said, but it was like,
Right.
There's been a crisis and I am not going to be able to come. I'm like,
oh. And you just
like,
go, well, okay, I'll just lose my.
Like you're my keynote speaker. Wait,
Yeah.
What do you mean you can't come? Sean, is this a joke? Are you kidding me? I mean, oh my God. I mean, I'm telling you, I had this sick feeling in the pit of my stomach, obviously. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm reeling like, what am I going to do? Who am I going to get? I mean, you talk about the last minute. Oh my God.
That's like, whoa.
Yeah. So I'm going back and forth and he's like, Cheryl, I would never do this to you. And I'm so sorry and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God. And then as we're going, and he said, I promise I'll be there next year for you. I will show up. I'll do this thing. I just can't do it now. So I'm reeling. I'm just reeling. He says, but let me just throw this out to you. What if I did a Facebook Live or, a live? And I'm like, oh my God, Sean, I think that could work. So we literally did that. That's what we did.
Wow.
You talk about, I'm telling you, it was truly amazing, but stressful to say the least.
Yeah, I imagine so. Wow. But I did. That was one of the things that I really liked, because I have to say, secretly, every time I go look at a show, I'm always like, how many women are on the speaker roster? And there have been shows where it's like, ooh, we have a woman. And I'm just, and I think part of it is because what we were talking about earlier is that I think women are so competitive that they don't want to help one another. They don't want to build each other up. They don't want to lift the other person up. And so because of that, there's that that thing that women have. And it's unfortunate because there's enough room for all of us, and that's the truth. And in fact, we are better together. I agree with that 100%. But and I think I think part of it is competition. I do believe that some of it. I think the other half of it is just there are a lot of women out there who don't. I don't want to sound like, but it's the only way I can think of to say it. They don't realize their own power. They don't know that they have all this information to impart and all this ability.
That's so true.
And so
they devalue themselves.
Yes. Yeah. So thank you. That's a better way to say it. But that's one of the things that's one of the reasons I started doing this, is to showcase women who are doing all this cool stuff and who are
I love, by the way. I love that you're doing this. I think it's awesome, and it's so needed. It's so needed. You're filling a niche market, if you will, that we need, that women need to be empowered together, and they need to know that their value is more than just what, like their whatever it is that they, a wife, a mother, there's more to them than what they do.
Well, and I think that's true. And I mean, honestly, I've been perfectly honest about this. This was totally selfish on my part, because I had a lot of questions and I was like, well, I have maybe the questions I have, other people have. So let's record these and then everybody can be helped. But I mean, I've been very, very lucky in that the women who've come to talk to me have been people who are really energized and excited about promoting women and helping, it's Erin has that saying, a rising tide lifts all boats, which shout out to Erin. But I think that's so true.
And Aaron happens to be one of my favorite people in the industry too. I mean,
he's a good guy, and he's done a lot to, promote the industry. I mean, Two Regular Guys is the OG of all this stuff. They started it.
Yeah.
And So, and he's been, I mean,
well, and I got to tell you this, Aaron really, he was instrumental in really where I am today too, because he got me exploring other areas and doing other things that I would not be doing today had it not been for Aaron. I mean, he believed in me, before they had the influencer program.
Oh, sure.
If you know what I mean, because everybody's now the buzzword is influencer.
No, yeah, the buzzword, which it wasn't. That's a relatively
right. Back then it wasn't. And but he believed in me, and it was really, really cool. And so definitely a shout out to Aaron Montgomery.
Well, I have to say, one of the things that I always liked about him was when I was director of marketing at Enmark, he was director of marketing at Coastal. And a lot of the people who were in our positions were very kind of, oh, well, you do that for our competition. We were always buddies. I mean, our companies worked together.
Cool.
Because we both had the kind of mindset of, we can be friendly and we can help each other. And, there were times when we didn't do something and I'd say, well, hey, go talk to Coastal. And Coastal would do the same thing for us. And so I never felt a lot of the antagonism from him that I did from some other companies that shall be nameless, but,
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot, it goes back to a lot of what you were talking about earlier, that if you have a scarcity mentality, if you assume that if somebody else has success, then you're losing something.
Right. Yep.
Then, and that's not a good mentality for a company. It's not a good mentality for a person. It's just not right. Well,
you never rise higher by lowering somebody else. And
that's very true.
Yeah. And true. I think that when people, try to do that, the truth is that people look at them and go, it's kind of like they say, hurt people. Well, it's true. And those things happen, unfortunately, where, they want to attack somebody, or they want to, come against somebody because they're jealous. And so they think somehow if I attack those people, or I say, oh, I expose their weakness, or I make fun of them, then somehow it makes me look better.
No.
For me, it's the exact opposite. I'm like, wow, no class,
Well, and I always think if you find somebody that's that dedicated to not, to protecting their tribal knowledge and I always look at those people and think, what are you afraid of? What do you think is going to happen to you if I'm successful? I mean, I don't get that, but I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you, when I was doing this, the people that I reached out to, no one would give me help. No one. I mean, Aaron in his limited knowledge, but I mean, I was talking about putting on this summit, and but no one that I reached out to had the time of day for me. It was like there was no cheat sheet. There was nothing that said, listen, do these steps, and this is, people have no idea what it takes to put on a conference. They have zero.
Oh, I have a small idea, and I admire what you've created, because holy crap, man.
I mean, I honestly think if I would have known to the degree that I actually ended up doing, I don't think I could have pulled it off. If I would have known that, one, I had 3 months to pull it off, and that all the work that it was going to entail. And I mean, literally, like just the contract alone.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I can't imagine the moment when you signed on the bottom line of that contract and went, oh boy, really committed to something.
And then again, not being able to share, those moments of insecurity of, oh my God, did I do the right thing? Am I, are we going to sink? We're going to have to take a mortgage out on our house, that, those moments, because my husband would have, I can't even imagine how he would have reacted, because he is not a risk taker. So it definitely would have been like, what did you do? And it would have piled on top of me. So I really had no one to share those moments with. It was tough. I mean, there's no doubt about it, but I learned a lot and the one thing for sure, I would absolutely help somebody who wants to put on something that, because it's, I wouldn't want somebody to have to go through what I went through. And having a year of going into this year, having a year to prepare, it's almost like, golly, man, this is like, it might as well be 10. It might as well be 10 years, because
I got all the time.
Yeah, 3 months but so much of the work was done. Doing the contract for the vendors was painful for me. Like actually putting it together, what's the right thing, and then going back and forth with the attorney, and I mean, all of it that you have to, you got to think about making sure that you have an event insurance that in case something happens and, somebody falls or whatever, you got to be protected, I mean, there was just so much that, making sure that every I was dotted and every T was crossed, and not knowing where I was going to land. I mean, at the end of the day, not knowing where I was going to land.
Honestly, I think probably not knowing everything was maybe the best. I think sometimes you just kind of have to blunder into it, and then you're in the middle of it, and you kind of have to go, okay, I've got to make this go now because I've committed.
Sink or swim, for sure.
Instead of, because I know there have been things that I'm looking at, and there are a couple things that I've kind of started plotting out stuff, and I'm going, oh, holy crap, this is big. I don't know if I want to, and if I had just been like dropped in the middle of it, then I would have gone, okay, I have to go now, because
you gotta sink or swim. And
but if you look at the magnitude of it ahead of time, it's like, that's one of the things I always say is you can't look at the whole mountain. You just have to look at the step in front of you, because if you look at the whole mountain, it's like, nope.
Well, and then, picking out the speakers and then the vendors. And I was really careful who I invited to this, because, I had a vision and a goal of, what I wanted for the people. And then you have other people who have their agenda, and they're like, oh, wait, that's not what I wanted. Okay, then you need to put your own conference on, because this is what I want. This is my vision. I want people to grow in this industry. I want people to be able to take a hobby and turn it into a business. I want people to succeed in this industry. And that was my desire. That was my goal, to educate people and to have a hands-on training where, we're taking the guesswork out for them. And I think we exceeded that in some respects, but there was a lot that I learned. Yeah, so we're doing labs this time. So we're doing, the lab will only have 20, 25 people in it, and it will be hands-on. We're doing longer classes versus we had an hour class. Now we're doing in 75 minutes with a half hour in between, or 15 minutes, whatever it ends up being. But, it's like, so there was a lot of different things that I walked away from that I'm like, okay, so we can make this better now. And of course, I'm running.
Well, let me ask you this, because something that you just said, is another pain point, I think, for a lot of women, which is, I have an idea. I think it's a good idea. I have to go to somebody and convince them that they want to be part of my idea. So how did you, because I mean, when the Sublimation Summit happened last year, nobody had ever heard of it before.
Right.
So how did you go to vendors, and what did you just approach people that you already had relationships with, or?
I did.
Okay.
And these are people
who
who
had some credibility already.
Yeah. And they, they know how hard I work and what I do, and the motive behind what I do. So, I mean, I had somebody point blank ask me, are you doing this to make money? Are you doing this for money? Now, somebody in the industry that does that sort of thing for a living.
Sure.
And I said, if I come out of here without losing money, I will be blessed.
Mm-hmm.
This was not about money for me. This was about, for me, helping people succeed in the industry that I work. And that is the truth. It's why I do what I do. And, I was shocked a little bit that somebody would point blank, and they said, listen, it's okay if you do. Oh, okay. Oh, you could not have paid me enough money to do what I did. I can't be bought. And that's the truth. I mean, that's part of, I think it's part of who I am, because, I love what I get to do, and I want to share it with other people. And I've watched people like Evelyn succeed. I've watched lots and lots of people succeed. The joy that I feel, I cannot describe. I'm telling you, because it's just so amazing to watch people do what they love and make money at it. And when you can do what you love and make money at it, it's like, wow, wow, wow. Mm-hmm. So, now for me, it's about building upon building. It's like building a solid foundation, and, the foundation got poured, and now we're going to put the bricks on it. And, we're going to continue to build this, because again, I think it's so needed. It's something dedicated to heat transfer and sublimation, and it's people. 90% of the people that join my group are brand new people that don't even have a printer. I don't want to say 90%, but I'm gonna 75% of those people. They're coming in from the embroidery industry, from the vinyl industry, from different areas, and they hear about sublimation. They want to know more, and so they join. So it's awesome.
I think one of the things that people don't get is that every show that we now take as the shows in the industry had to start from somewhere, and it takes somebody who has a passion to see a particular niche and go, there should be a show for people who do this. And Sublimation happens to be the one that struck you. But I mean, we need a lot more people like you doing stuff like this, because I like also that you're not affiliated with one of the magazines or one of the, it's all independent, so to speak, or one of the organizations or something, because that's, Evelyn said, this comment here, one of the things I enjoyed about the Sublimation Summit is that there was so much knowledge shared by the best of the best. I didn't have to worry about anyone trying to sell me things. And that's
true, Evelyn. That's true.
Well,
that was a big part of it.
I mean, there are trade shows where you're going to see equipment and you're looking to buy things. But the shows like you're doing, it's definitely much more education. So I would agree.
And, I love the MBM shows. I mean, that it's, you know, I can't say enough about, I mean, of course I do write for them, but I loved them long before I ever started writing for them, because the thing I loved about them is that they had, you know, classes for free. And it was about education again. And it's, you know, they're great shows. I mean, I really like the ISS shows as well. I know that they've changed their name, Impressions
Expo now.
Yeah.
I think it is.
But my favorite was always MBM, because they had those free classes, and I felt like people could, you know, they could learn what they're doing before they go out and buy or purchase something. They can learn about it, and I liked that, and I still like that.
Well, and I think, you know, what people sometimes don't get is that people who put on events, people who run groups, people who do all that kind of stuff, there's a lot of time and energy that goes into all that stuff. And I think sometimes the mentality becomes, once something's been around for a while, that, oh, it's kind of like, I don't want to say a right, but that's kind of, you know, it's kind of like, oh, this thing is here for me. And you know, the one thing that always bothers me is that, you know, there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of people that will help. There's a lot of people that will answer questions, but you have to have a passion and a drive yourself. Like you say, you get 30 messages a day or whatever it is from people who could find the information, but they ask you instead. And it's, you know, and I kind of,
but I do want to say this too. A lot of people who go and start groups, they go because they're selling something. They're selling their designs. They're selling their stuff. But you got to have a commitment to do this, because it's work.
Oh, it is.
To run a Facebook group, it is work. I mean, if you really do it justice, it is a lot of work. Yeah.
I mean, and you have to be very clear. Like when I started Women in Garment Decoration, I was very clear what I wanted and what I didn't want, and the atmosphere that I wanted, and you know what we were trying to do there. And you know, I don't know. I mean, I don't think necessarily there's anything wrong with having a class or having a trade show where you sell things, or having a conference where you sell things, or having a group where you sell things, as long as you're very clear that that's what you're doing.
Yeah, sure.
You know? And I mean, I'm not against making money. I would like to make some money.
I think everybody should make money. I think you work hard, you should make money. Yeah. I think that's the way of the world, right? I mean, hopefully.
But I think you can do both things. You can make money, and you can also contribute to your industry. And I don't think those two things have to be mutually exclusive. So, you know, it's and I'm looking at my time right now, and I'm going, holy crap.
I know. I'm looking at it too, and I'm going, okay, so I would like to share just one other thing with you that I want to talk about pivoting for just a minute, because
yes, I know you had mentioned that, and I'm thinking, well, we could go for another hour, but that's probably not a good plan. So pivoting.
Yeah. You know, with the COVID, with everything that's going on, people have had to do a lot of different things, things. And so I think that for some people, it has forced them to go out of business. Other people, it has forced them to grow. It has forced them to pivot, to change, to redirect themselves, to think outside of the box. And for me, I I am ever educating myself, always wanting to grow, always wanting to expand, where I am. And I am definitely in the works of making some things happen in my world that I'm excited about.
Yay.
And, I am, it's an awesome time. It's such an awesome time that if people, in spite of the fact that COVID is there and there's a pandemic, there is unbelievable opportunity for people if you will just stretch yourself, if you'll be willing to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
If you can think of something that you're passionate about, or that something that you have wanted to do for a long time, think of different ways to make it happen. Think of another way of skinning that cat, as I say, because you will get it done. If you believe it, you will get it done. And there is so much opportunity for everybody to succeed. And, I said this before, and I truly do believe this, that we're better together. And, the more that we link arms together and we lift each other up, the further we're going to go.
I would totally agree with you. And I think the people who are thriving right now are the people who are dealing with the situation in front of them, instead of going, well, it's going to go back to normal, or, well, I'm like, it doesn't matter what it does in 6 months. This is where we are. So and I agree. We need to support each other. We need to commiserate with people who have taken a hit. We need to celebrate the people who tried something new, all that stuff, because it's out there right now.
Encourage those people who have taken a hit of, listen, let's think outside of the box.
Well,
let's do something different than what we've always done, so that you can, because I don't think that, I think we're only limited by the way that we think,
I agree.
And so if maybe sometimes you got to brainstorm with somebody else, you got to, talk to me. Can you help me? I'm stuck. Mm-hmm. I mean, well, that's a big part. Just admitting the fact that you're stuck is okay, so let's talk it through. What can you do? How can you do this differently? Have you tried this? Did you do that?
Yeah.
I get excited.
I think you're absolutely right that there's a lot we can do to help each other. And a lot of it is just being positive too, believing that you can affect change and you can succeed and you can make a difference for yourself and for other people. I mean, there's a lot of people out there right now that are saying, well, everything's done. And it's like, no, nothing's done. Things are different.
Yeah.
But nothing's done.
That's right.
I agree with you on that. So we could go to bonus time for like about 5 years, but I'm gonna put a couple. Well, we really could, but I know from experience that if I let it go to too much bonus time, then it's like 5 o'clock and we're going, okay, we should maybe quit now. So I'm gonna put up a couple of things. This is the Sublimation Summit. Whoops, it went away. If you want to go check out that, this is the Facebook group for your business. Just My Imagination Designs. Yep. If you want to go check that out. And this is the Facebook group for Sublimation for Beginners and Beyond. If you want to go check that out. So if you want to do sublimation, I would recommend going to check out the group because I've heard nothing but good things. Thank you for being here. This was amazing. You got me fired up again. I was kind of I really was kind of on the fence a little bit about whether this was going to keep going or not. And now I'm kind of leaning toward yes. So thank you for that.
Yes. And I want you to have me back.
I will. All right. I'm going to let you go.
This has been awesome. Thank you so much
for being here. It was a great
such
conversation.
A pleasure for me.
All right. Thanks, Cheryl.
All right, take care.
Whoops. There we go. And just so you can see additional versions of the show that may be coming, you can go to the Women and Business podcast page. And if you want to join the Women in Garment Decoration Facebook group, that is the URL there. And thank you all for being here today. I appreciate it so, so much. And we had a great talk. Thank you to Cheryl. And I will keep you updated on upcoming episodes. And I look forward to talking with you all again soon. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.